If I go 1 sec.
Do you want to start it from the beginning?
There you go, Nick. We're live. Wait. I've unmuted you.
There we go. Just working out all the technical hoo-ha with going live on a couple of platforms. Great to be with you, Ben, and I think we've got some interesting things to talk about. There's a bit of an issue that I'm finding, especially with the trolls and social media, with all this Jew hatred. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've definitely noticed it.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think it stems from predominantly? What's the main reason?
It's definitely spiritual. It can't be anything else. I know. Look, when it comes to any sort of hate, it's obviously not from Jesus. It's not from God. We have issues with the Chinese government, with the Russian government, even with Donald Trump. It doesn't matter who it is, whatever government. Every government is planning or doing something in the background. CIA, whatever it is. Yet you don't see people running around saying, the Chinese are controlling the world. The Chinese are doing this and doing that and whatever else, or the Russians are doing this or doing that. For some reason, it always gets back to the Jews. It's always the Jews over and over again.
Yeah. I wanted to. Go on.
And the thing and the crazy thing is that this is not a modern day problem. Jew hate, was all the way back since, even before Christ, 2,000 years before Christ. This is not a modern day thing. Obviously, the enemy hates the people that he chose to bring the Messiah, the line of Messiah through, and the enemy's going to do everything that he can to reciprocate that hate. And if it's not the Jews, it's going to be the Christians. Jesus said it very clearly that we're going to be hated.
A lot of the Jewish people, all the first Christians were predominantly Jews and people of the tribes of Israel. I hold that the belief that, and there's a lot of evidence for this, that the first people that received the gospel were actually people of the house of Israel anyway, and that's why you end up with people in India with the Apostle Thomas going there. We have people in Scotland, and they're receiving the gospel from the Apostle Andrew, which is why we've got St Andrew's cross. The Scottish Declaration of Independence literally says that they received the gospel almost first, although in the farthest parts of the earth, from the beloved disciple Andrew. Now, why would the Apostle Andrew go all the way to the Scottish people and preach the gospel all the way over there if there wasn't a reason for that? Like, he must have known who these people are. So I hold to that position, biblical position. I think it's a biblical position that you can prove with, if you just look at the Gaelic language, which I believe is just Galilean. I've put the Gaelic language next, like if you compare it with Hebrew and and a lot of the other Semitic languages, at least half the words are the same or almost identical, and the sentence structure is Semitic. There's linguistics experts all around the world that understand this. It's like this big anomaly. Like, why is there? This is meant to be an Indo-European language, the Gaelic, yet we've got this all of these Semitic ties to this language, and they don't understand why. Well, so I think there's a lot of issues there. It's like when people say anti-Semitism, yet there's Arabs are Semitic, the Iranian people are Semitic. There's all these different Semitic people. So there's lots of issues with the wording. People say Jew, is Jew a religion? Is it an ethnicity? Is it someone that comes from a particular region? So there's lots of issues there. And I think it's important that we get to the bottom of it and have a look at these issues. So how this started, though, for me, and why we're doing this today, was so for everyone watching, I contacted Ben. I said, mate, I just did this post about our upcoming rally on the 30th of November. Tommy Robertson's going to be supporting it, and he's going to be doing a video in support of what we're doing. Anyway, I posted that up with a flyer, and it's just a flyer. And there's been about 180 comments on there, and at least probably 2/3 of them have been filled with venom and Jew hatred. Now, I want to share screen some of this to show you, because it's pretty bad. Let me just
one sec. You go back there. Yep.
Got it? We're good?
Yep. One sec. One sec, Nick. One sec. We got to go here. Wait.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we change it to
that one there.
Yep.
Up.
That one.
Let me do it.
Yeah, you do it, mate. I'm just working. We've got this new software that we use.
You do it. Don't click anything. Don't click anything.
Not,
mate. 1 second.
But anyway, so I wanted to go through these comments, and I wanted to show people just some of the crap that people are saying, to show how stupid some of it is. Now, some of it has merit probably, and I'll give credit where credit's due, but some of it's just outright hate. So I want to look at this, and I want to get other people's opinions in the comments as well to see what they think. Is that good to go?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah. So let's have a
look.
Yeah, no, I can see. All right, so this is the post. November 30th, Tommy Robertson will be speaking to us. It's via video. And I've written, let's unite under God in strength and courage to honour our faith, our people and our country. And I think this is really, really good because Tommy Robertson, he organised a massive rally in the UK, and it was actually predominantly a Christian rally. Like, there was a lot of Christian speakers there, and it was definitely a step in the right direction. So anyway, I've posted this up, and look at these comments. Oh, hang on, let me see if I can actually find these comments on there. Yeah, here we go. So here we go. We've got one, Ginny Dean. Tommy Robertson is a Zionist according to his own words. Yep, okay. All right, well, let's look at this. Let's deal with this one first. What's a Zionist? All right, so I've got a few definitions here. Zionism, Jewish nationalist movement with the goal of creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews, and then it goes on, and it goes on for a while. But that's the main sort of crux of what it is, and what most people believe. Someone who belongs to or supports a political movement that had its origins had as its original aim the creation of a country for the Jewish people that now supports the state of Israel. And then if we look at the dictionary.com, Zionist is a follower of Zionism, a movement that resulted in the establishment and development of the State of Israel. The term can be neutral, positive, or offensive term for the Jewish Israel, or offensive term for a Jewish Israeli nationalist. Now, I looked up different definitions on Grok as well, and I asked Grok, what does the word Zionist mean to the average Jewish person? And this is what the summary was. To the average Jewish person, Zionist likely means supporting the existence of Israel as a Jewish homeland, often tied to cultural, historical, or emotional connections. However, the term's meaning can range from a deeply personal affirmation of identity to a more complex or critical stance, depending on the individual's perspective and experiences. So, so that's the definition, right? Now, I don't think that definition is incredibly volatile. This idea of so if somebody believes that you can, that Jews can return to this land or that they can establish a nation in that land, I don't think that's the greatest evil in the world. I think it's a political idea that people have, and I think it's a valid one. Some people are colonialists. Some people think it's really good. Some people think it's bad. There's different examples of colonialism where it's worked and it's been really good, and others where it hasn't been. I mean, you look at Islamic colonialism, where the Muslims have driven out the majority of Christians and Jews in so much of the Middle East. I have real issue with that. And yet people don't, they don't bat too much of an eyelid about that. And then there's Jewish people in this little strip of land when there's 22, I think, Arab states, and then there's this one little Jewish one. So that's where I think a lot of non-Jewish people that are Zionists stand. They think, well, all these Arabs have their states, and then the Jewish people have this tiny little dot. And I think that's a valid idea. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think it's a valid idea to have. So to say that Tommy Robinson's a Zionist, according to his own words, okay, so he believes, so what that really means is that he believes that the Jews have a right to be there. That's what it means to be a Zionist, according to 3 definitions and the summary from Grok. So 4. Then you've got Matthew 8. Oh, actually, let's have a look at the replies to that. So Simon's saying, who cares? He said, are you a little Jew-hating Nazi? I mean, Hitler. So there's people on the other side of this, right? It's very divided. But it's interesting because it seems to be people that are on that particular side. So I've got to go back there of the argument. The ones that think Zionism is the greatest evil that are trolling, because I'm getting trolls from these people. Like I'm getting trolled all the time with a lot of the stuff that I share. If I share anything from Avi Yemeni, he's a Zionist scumbag. Nick, you've aligned yourself with a Zionist, and I don't even think these people realise what they're saying. And then,
Nick, is now a good time for just for me to bring up the fact that when God called Abraham out of Ur, he called him into Canaan. Now Canaan was basically covered the whole of the Lebanon, Israel, Syria. That was the land that Abraham was called out to originally, and then they were taken as slaves into Egypt, right, during the famine, and then after God set them free, they came back into the promised land of Canaan, which is the same place, Israel, which is where.
I'm with you, but I would also argue on the other side of that Abraham had other children. The Midianites, the Ishmaelites. There's these other people that are also from his line, the Edomites. That come from Esau. So there's not just the Israelites, and then out of the Israelites, only one part of them is the house of Judah, and the other part is the house of Israel. So there's a lot more to that argument as well. But whether or not these people have, and a lot of people would say, well, they're not Semitic anyway. They're Ashkenazi, and Ashkenaz is another nation. We can see that biblically, but it's a hard one to argue because there's a lot of Jewish people that aren't Ashkenazi too. Like there's the Sephardic Jewish people who are essentially Arabs, Arab stock. So I think that's an argument not even worth even having. I think we just get down to the fruits, right? The fruits, because otherwise you have really complex arguments, and some people can't even go down that rabbit hole. But let's just have a look at some of these, and let's get back to that, because it gets interesting when you've got like people like Rose. She's sort of on the side of having a she's on the side that why argue about these issues, and she's a big supporter of Tommy as well. I heard him state at a protest. He spoke it in London. Yeah, okay. He has said that and the reason that Tommy Robertson has publicly said that he's a Zionist is because he believes that they have a right to be there. That's all it is, and he believes that. That doesn't make him, in my opinion, the great evil, because he believes politically that those people have a right to be there. Does that make sense? And that's the point. Yet people are making that out to be the most evil thing, like he's some sort of evil, pedophile or something as evil as that, because he believes that the Jews have a right to be in that land. And you've got, and I've just said, he believes. I've just explained that, and I've asked if she supports terrorists. Let's have a look. Matthew Aiken. Let's have a look. Okay, so Matthew Aiken said. Let's have a look. He said that goes both ways. Do your homework, rapist IDF. So this is Matthew Aiken saying that the IDF are rapists, right? And after ceasefire, I can't believe you're supporting Tom Robertson. Geez. And I go, well, okay.
Yeah, what about Hamas?
How much has Tommy Robertson done that's really good? That even if you don't agree with this part of it, how much good has he done? He's done the documentaries exposing the judiciary and the lawfare that's used by the judiciary. He's done documentaries called The Rape of Britain, where he exposes a multitude of gang rapists that are Islamic predominantly, and all of this good work that he's done is it's all for nothing according to these people, because he said that he supports the nation of Israel, or that he supports a Jewish state. So then someone said, "Do you appreciate being known as a goy?" Right. So this is something that would all the Jewish people I know. I've never met one who's ever called me a goy, but I've also got family that are through marriage that are Jewish. They've never called me a goy. I know a whole lot of people who are Jewish. My mate here, Jay, he's Jewish. They wouldn't even use this term anyway. So, they just use things that aren't even really a thing to just create animosity and hate. And I've never seen anything like it to this degree. And then here we go again. Have you read the Talmud? I think you should before you continue throwing stones. So essentially, because I have issues with Hamas and I think they're evil and they're terrorists, I'm being told that I need to read the Talmud. I don't believe this person's read the Talmud at all, which is a massive, big, it's like a library. But regardless of whether or not I've read the Talmud or not, only about 10 to 14% of Jewish people, and it's the ultra-Orthodox, really live by it religiously. The rest of them don't and wouldn't even really know what's in there. So, whereas if you were to look at Muslims, about 80 to 90% of them would be quite, would follow the precepts of the Quran religiously to some degree. So there's a different dichotomy there. Let's have a look at some more of these. Here we go. So Matthew Aiken again. Best dig a little more. Now it's interesting because Jay Reeves actually he's got a lot of family in Israel. He's a Christian fella. He's one of my really good mates. He's actually the guy that was punched up by the police when the and when we had the fight with the police, he was the first guy that got punched up by the police. You wouldn't know he's a Jew because he doesn't outwardly say it. I'm letting people know. He said, best dig a little more. If you want to mention thousands of Christians slaughtered, let's start with the Bolshevism, Khazars, all Zionists, Karl Marx, Jewish Zionists, father of communism. Zionists aren't Jews. How many countries are they kicked out of? 109 plus. Okay, first of all, he says the ignorant statement. This is completely false. I've gone into the whole day. I've been looking at this. I'm trying to find these 109 countries. There is nothing like that. I can find information about Jewish people being kicked out of countries. Some of them have been like the Spanish Inquisition, but it wasn't just. It was Protestants were kicked out and killed. Jews were, and many others. Obviously the Nazis. We know with Hitler and some of the countries, that were aligned with Hitler. When the Islamic nations were killing them and obviously kicking them out as well. So this is a ridiculous statement. I can promise you this is just absolute garbage. Look it up. I recommend everyone. And if you've got evidence that this is true, please provide it to me because I can't find anything to verify this 109 countries plus. And then to say ignorant statement. Although I can find heaps of videos and articles that state this, but I can't find any evidence. Like, there's times in history where, I think King Andrew would, kicked out, the Jews, and then 100 years later they all came back for different reasons. But it's not 109. It's a very much smaller number, and it's not all for the same reasons. And then he says, who bought Winston Churchill's debts? Zionist Jews. Now, I don't know anything about that. So then he bombed Berlin several times before Hitler said enough was enough. World War II only started. Why? Because Hitler threw out the Jewish banking system. After he did Germany thrive for 6 years. So he's very pro Hitler, and I'm definitely not. And the reason I say that is I've looked at the Nazi ideology, which is deeply religious, with the Black Sun ideology, the swastika, which is the Thor's hammer and the 4 parts of the earth, and I just go, it's completely pagan. And the idea that there is a racial group called the Aryans, I can't find any evidence for that anywhere that makes a certain demographic greater than another demographic. So Nazism was based in supremacy. Best you start with the usury.
Hey, can I say something? Can I say something about usury? Usury's been around since ancient Egypt, Babylon.
Yep.
This wasn't an invention of the Jews. That's ridiculous.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I agree. And actually supporting it. Real power sits in the middle, moving the chess pieces. Zionist Netanyahu. Now, Netanyahu, we know, is corrupt because he's, and that's why there's real pending charges that are, there's a lot of people that want to potentially have him executed because of, accepting bribes and other things like that. And who knows how bad he is in the background. But this is political leaders. Political leaders generally are evil. And even if you look to the Bible and you look at the book of Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings, how many kings, Ben, were righteous?
None.
Hardly any of them, right? So then it says Netanyahu and his real name, so he's saying his real name is something else. Parents are Polish. What's that term? Okay, Khazarian. From where? Russia. They are the biblical Edomites. So he seems to know all this stuff, but I don't believe he's got it accurately. And I mean this 109, unless he's got some special book that he can verify that gives you all this information. I can't find it anywhere. I just find a lot of people saying it and stating it. And then, anyway, so then he's going on about the transgender narrative. This is all the event, essentially the Jews, I think.
Transgender narrative is a Zionist creation.
Yeah, right, okay.
It's a big claim.
And then he's come here. He's on there again. Tommy Robertson, Zionist agitator EDL was funded by Zionists. Congratulations. Fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Apartheid. Who shipped the migrants in, though? Cokehead Tommy was running with all the pedos. Newsflash, it wasn't him that exposed it first, the rape gangs, etc. Who carried out 9/11 attacks? Mossad, Zionists. How do they know that? Maybe they did. Maybe they did. But I can tell you that we're not going to know who. And how do you know, Matthew? How do you know that? There were definitely evil people, and they probably masquerade under all different names and I don't think they're nationalistic either. I think they might hide behind nation states, and then they have secret agreements between each other, like a cartel. But I can't prove that either. But that's what I think. That's how I believe it would be transpiring in the background. Dancing Israelis, anyone? Arrested, then sent back to Israel. Tell me again about how nice Zionists are. After all, 9/11 was the catalyst for an illegal war after the event. It's interesting how nice Zionists are after all, 9/11 was a catalyst. Okay, everyone that I know that's Jewish that claims to be a Zionist, all they believe is that the Jews have a right to be in that land. That's it. They're not baby eaters. They're not, orchestrating the fall and destruction of all of society. Maybe there is a small group of Jews that maybe, but I can't prove that, and I can't see that. And if there was a group trying to take over the whole world, I think the biggest issue we have is the Islamic one, where you've literally got a text that 1.5 billion people follow, probably more than that, and will concede to and agree with, that says that they have to take over the whole world. So that's a real issue. And then it talks about it's not play the anti-Semitic card as they are anything but Semitic. How many million Christians got the Bolshevik Revolution? Ashkenazis case. The Ashkenazi is an ethnicity. So you can find Ashkenaz in the Bible twice as a nation. There's two places. I think it's in Genesis chapter 20, and it's in Jeremiah, I think chapter 51 or 57, where it talks about Ashkenaz and a number of other nations. One of them is Mini, Mini, I think, fighting against Babylon. And it's definitely a type of people, and they're not the Israeli, the people of Israel, Ashkenazi, but doesn't mean that they're not mixed in with those people on the Bible. And I don't think it even matters, right? I think that's not even really the issue. I think people choose to make that an issue because they create their own, narrative that it's got to be this particular way. And then anyway, let's continue going. I just want to show you these comments. Sue Triv, not all Zionists are bad, but just like not all Muslims are bad. So she's got a good, balanced way of looking at it. There is good and bad in all religions, cultures. Just because someone says that they're a Zionist doesn't mean that you have to label them as bad. How about Bill Gates and Soros?
Yeah.
And Bill Gates he's not Jewish. Then Nahaj or Najjar says Zionist it's a cult, not a religion. Orthodox Jews are not Zionists. They don't acknowledge the existence of Israel. Well, actually, some of them do and some of them don't. So that's not true. While critics opposing ends of the political spectrum have used the term cult. Anyway, she says some good things on there, and I think it's very balanced and reasonable. And then, Matthew's getting on there saying, picking on people saying you failed history. And then not all Zionists are bad, apparently. Seriously, WTF. Like, this is so ridiculous. People that believe that, if you believe that the Jewish people have a right to be in that land makes you bad, then, and just because of that, by virtue of believing that the Jewish people have a right to be there, somehow, so what Matthew's saying with this question is, or this statement is that if you are a Zionist, you're bad because someone said not all Zionists are bad. So, and think about this. I don't even know how to explain how ridiculous it is to me that you can think that being someone that believes what those definitions say about believing in the Jewish state, just because you believe in that, you are the worst of the worst. You have to be bad. I think it's crazy. And then he's talking about, Bolshevism again. Matthew Atkins, heaps of comments here, but there's a lot from other people as well. Oh, this is one. So have a look at this. So he's posted this up in the comments. This brave man risked his job by forcing the CPS to prosecute the Rothschild grooming gang. That was one of the big grooming gangs in the UK of predominantly Pakistani migrants who are raping young girls. He then personally secured their conviction. He is a Muslim. This is like very pro-Islam. You can see the propaganda in this. And I know it's propaganda because this part's a complete lie, right? This vainglorious thug and convicted fraudster has never exposed a single pedophile, has hung out with pedophiles, and knowingly jeopardized the trial of a grooming gang solely for publicity. Now, that's so ridiculous when he actually created a documentary called The Rape of Britain. He named many of these pedos and potential pedos. He interviewed victims of these grooming gangs, and it's had millions of views. So to post something up like this is completely false. Like this would be defamation, and I'm going to call it out. And if you look on Tommy Robinson's page, like I get on his Telegram a lot, you'll see he's always posting up photos of people and pedos that have been caught out, or people that have been, speak out about potential accused pedophiles. He also shares videos of when they get caught. So this idea that he has a huge channel and he uses it for that. So I don't understand why you would post something like that. I don't think he's done his research. And he's going to hate my guts for sharing this, but I'm just over it. That's about the Kalergi plan. Actually, a lot of these are Matthew Aitken. You like my mate saying I'm happy to settle it with you, like, man. Okay, so it wasn't Tommy. In fact, he's a Zionist mouthpiece. So they're saying, so Matthew's saying that he's a mouthpiece for the Zionists. So it must be like him. He's obviously not talking about the Zionists according to the definitions that we looked at. He's talking about Zionists according to something else. I don't know what his definition is. I can't believe you're following algorithms, culturally hegemony. Much he's an agent. Like, how do you know he's an agent? Like, this is the thing. People say that I'm an agent. People say that I've been getting paid off. All sorts of garbage like that. Anyway, let's continue. Let's have a look. He's going back in a couple of weeks to jail. Yeah, here we go. Sam saying Tommy Robinson is a Zionist Israel, whatever country too. So he's saying that he's Israel first, other countries second. I don't know how he can say that affirmatively. How do you know that? Because he said I support Israel and that he's a Zionist. So that means that he's Israel first? That's ridiculous. This is the guy. Tommy Robinson's the guy that he ran the biggest rally in the history of the UK. He's done more for the UK, I think, than anyone that I can see. I think he's a hero of a bloke. Now, it doesn't mean he's perfect. Does he make mistakes? I'm sure he has. I'm sure he's done a lot of things wrong. He's a Luton guy. He's not highly educated, and I think he's done amazing things. And he's gone to jail consistently for. And I've looked at a lot of his convictions. He's been in jail many times, and most of those convictions were for things that I think are pretty honourable. Dave Onex, sorry, but Tommy is quite happy about the current genocide. I can't back this fella. Always love everything you've done for Australian person. You have my full support and respect. But for Tommy, yeah, nah. Now, honestly, if you think about it, how much of what Tommy has done would the majority of people on this thread agree with? I would say probably 95% of it. But because of that small 5%, they're going to just throw it all out. It's literally the definition of throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And just because they don't agree with that one particular thing, and I think it shows real arrogance to think that if you don't agree with my position on Israel and you've got a difference of opinion, nah, you're no good, you're bad, you're funded by them, and you're this, that, and the other, and we're going to call you names. I think it's completely wrong. Here we go. Tommy sold his soul to Israel. How do you know that? And what, because he's gone to Israel, and after the October 7th thing, he's had an issue with the Islamic immigration in the UK and takeover for a long time. And so do the people in Israel. They have an issue with they have an Islamic issue too. So does the whole of the West has an Islamic issue. In fact, the Middle East has an Islamic issue. And the Middle East that used to be Jewish, Christian, and Zoroastrian has an Islamic issue because Islam came in and killed, forcibly converted people. Here we go. Sadly, Nick's big on the Zionists from my following. What do you get from this, Ben, seeing these comments? You there, mate?
I see Zionism as a weaponized term. It's obviously, it's got spiritual backing to it. It's like the demons of hell, man, are just doing everything they can to support it.
Yeah,
I did a quick search. Let me show you something. 1 second. I'm just jumping
get through this thread here? I'll just get through this thread here.
Yep,
Nick's big on the Zionists from my following, and then I've just said I just don't hate Jews, right? And I didn't say you did. I said you support Zionists, right? Well, that's like the majority of Jews. Not all of them, but that's the majority of them, right? Including my cousin, including friends that I've got that believe something politically that obviously this person doesn't believe. So that's obviously a really bad thing. Imagine that. Imagine if I said, if you don't agree with my political ideology, then you are whatever, and you have a name to call them that, and you start putting them down and mocking them. That's what's happening here. Good on Mark for getting in there and helping out. And then we've just got heaps of it here, and it just gets worse and worse. I like what this guy, Jade, so it's a girl, yeah. She was really good the way she wrote it. She said, "Mate, take it easy. I worship on Shabbat day. I can throw in that the morning star is Jesus and Lucifer, and the letter J wasn't even around. It's Y and not J. And the Vatican is a pedophile that changed everything up. Then I can say we're all Freemasons. Then worshippers worshipping the checkers. Then I can say dog as God is dog backward. Throw a bone and everyone bites. Who really gives an F? You receive the Holy Spirit. Amen. Not every Jew is the same, eating babies and shit. Let's just focus on the Islamic extremists. And that's the real issue, because the Islamic issue is the...
I like Jade. I like Jade a lot.
Yeah, that's the... Here we go. Zionist cuck. Cancel his video. Yeah, I didn't say... let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. Anyone want to talk about the thousands of Christians getting killed in Muslim countries, or we butt her because of Tommy Robinson? Yeah, that's exactly.
Right. That's right.
That's the point, right? And then we've got we should talk about that while we are at it. Better talk about the Zionist Jews who hate, spit, and assault Christians in Israel too. So this is a really small group, and I've seen videos of it, right? So they're using this really small group of Jewish people to tar all of them with the same brush, because there's this group of degenerate Orthodox Jews that are just complete degenerates. It's one particular group, and they spit on and attack Christians, right? That's not the majority of them. That's not the majority of the Orthodox ones. I was talking to an Orthodox guy today about that, because I've got friends in all different camps, and he said, yeah, no, they are, and he used the word degenerate. He said they're absolute degenerates. And so what they're doing is they're saying that because this little group of degenerates do this, that's what Israel's all about. That's what the Jews are about. And it's completely dishonest. And actually, Jay Reeves has done a great job. He said, That's very inclusive statement for all Jews. While all white people must be in the KKK, all blacks are in
That's
the
right.
Bloods, and all Asians do kung fu. You should learn more before making statements like that. And that's the reality. Well, we've got literally a Nazi issue in Australia, specifically in Melbourne, though, where we've got them
Yeah.
running wild in the streets. Does that mean that we're all Nazis? No, it doesn't. But that's the type of logic that this Jacinta Smith is using. Um, and then we've got, and who is killing Christians and bombing the churches in Palestine? Are you trying to tell us it's the Muslims? Don't you know how many churches are bombed by the Zionists, right? I don't know. I don't know all of that. And I don't think you know all of that. I think you're just saying that because these are, I believe you're regurgitating what people are saying. And there is a war going on. And when wars occur, things do get blown up and bombed. Yeah. So I mean, this is. I just want to have a look and see some more of these. Yeah. See, my mate's saying, "Have you? You know? Okay, I've grown up." Yeah, because yeah, this woman saying, "Grow." Yeah. Or in the West Bank, done by IDF. Grow up, man. He said, "Okay, I've grown up. Now prove it to me. Have you seen it? Have you seen these all of these churches, all these people being killed? Have you seen it? Because we see a lot of footage. We don't know what it's from. We don't know how accurate it is because there's a. And I've actually looked at this online from different sources as to what the official figures are and how bad they are of this war. It's hard to know exactly, but all war is vicious and horrible. So people die, but they reckon that the from both the Israeli figures and the Hamas figures, if you take the average in the middle, you actually find that the death toll for civilians to military deaths are actually consistent with any war. It's just consistent with the with any war that we've had, whether it be the Iraq War or others. So this is what happens in war, which is why it should always be avoided. And then, yeah, see, now they're calling him a sellout. Tommy's a Zionist. Under God, FFS. Tommy, under God, justifying colonial genocide. Yeah, nah, right? It's just nuts to me. All the good things he's done for people, but because he believes that the Jews have a right to be in that land, he's justifying the colonial genocide. Yeah, no, I think he has a different political opinion to you. So why would you? It's like, we say glass half empty, half full. If the glass is 95% full, why would you go, yeah, no, not good enough. I want it 100% full, or I'm not going to accept it. That's the arrogance of these people. Nick, what are you doing, man? What am I doing? I'm not being a moron. That's what I'm doing. Candace, no. But Zion, Tommy, welcome to country. Well, no, he's not coming into the country. He wouldn't be allowed in the country. And Candace, I've got all sorts of issues with Candace. But that must make me evil too, because I don't agree with a lot of what. Because actually, look at a lot of the stuff that she says. She presents really well, but her information's rubbish. I think it's video. Yeah. No to the Zionist Jews, Muslim fanatics, and then they're sending videos. Jericho, yeah, whatever. I can't watch these things. I don't have the time to watch everything. There's so much stuff. She has concerning views. These are illegal now. If we need a foreigner, yes, a foreigner that has more interest in a foreign ties to other countries than that of his own to inspire us, then we're already too far gone. Too funny. The ship is sinking fast. What a stupid thing to say, Tina. Right? If we need a foreigner, yes, a foreigner, you can have it. Actually, we share the same culture, first of all, right? Western culture. It's a war against the West and Christianity. And that's why we're doing this Australia rally. So yes, he might be a foreigner, but he's about the closest foreigner that you will get, and he's actually got status in this movement of our Christian values and our heritage. But to say that he has more interested in foreign ties to other countries than that of his own. Well, there's no evidence of that. They're just saying these things because and what I consider this to be is people jumping on the bandwagon. This is the vile mob that we hear about in ancient Rome, with the mob scream and shout for whatever it is, and then the people just, you're going to go with the mob. Rome's the mob, right? This is the mob, just screaming and shouting things that they don't actually know if they're true. How would they know that he has? I guarantee you, he's never said that I'm Israel first, my own country second. And I don't think there's any issue with having people from other parts of the world supporting your plight. It's just a stupid statement to make. And I can't tolerate the stupidity of it without calling it out. Yeah, I like this. Can't believe so many people now love Islam and Sharia law. Yeah, there are some ultra-rich Jews controlling the world, but other people that mind control. Yeah, there are some super rich Jews, but they're not all of the richest people either, right? There's loads of this, but I want to get through it all, and then we can just really talk about it. You really think those people are letting Muslims take over? From war-torn countries? This is with nothing. How dumb can people be? Who controls the information? They sell you this shit to hate them, but let's talk about the Talmud, right? The Talmud. I guarantee you, Megan, you have not read the Talmud. It's like 50 books. It's humongous.
Yeah.
And all that. And actually, I've spent some time looking at some of the statements that people make about the Talmud. The Talmud says this. It says that you can rape, girls that are not Jewish, as long as they're, or children, as long as they're under 9. I've looked at this stuff. I can't find it in there. A lot of it's not even true. Some of it might be, but a lot of this. So far, I've been going through the Talmud, looking at a lot of this stuff, and you'll actually see I've been going through a lot of it here. Where is it? Like here, we've got Sanhedrin 54b, which is one of the ones that I've been going through this stuff. And I'll tell you what, a lot of it isn't well, so far, all the ones that I'm looking at that people say the Talmud says all these bad things, I can't see it in there. Now, I'm sure there is some really bad stuff in there. I'm sure there is. I'm not saying there isn't. But a lot of it I know from today's study that a lot of it's propaganda. It's false. Just like the 109 countries that kicked out the Jews. That's also garbage. It's complete garbage. And I'm going to call it out. I don't care if people get offended and angry and start calling me names, because the truth is more important than my status and standing in the community. Anyway, so let me see if there's any more. Why was a Zionist involved in handling back of Uluru? I don't even know what that is. I don't know. I can't comment on that. Yeah, I like this. What's with all the Jew haters on here? I agree. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why there's so much hate. Now, there was Leo said, can someone ask Mr. Free Speech Advocate Dave O next time? Block me, please. Thank you. Yeah, because I think Dave blocked him because he's a Jewish guy and he's having a discussion about some of the, because I think if you are fully embedded into the Jew hate narrative, and someone who's a Jew that understands the subject matter better than you is having the discussion with you, I can see why you might want to delete them from the chat or off their Facebook. See, he said Tommy Israel first. That's complete garbage. They're just making stuff up. That's what these people do. And that's why I don't respect them, because when you're saying crap like this with no evidence, sorry, I can't respect you at all. Now, this is interesting. This is William's take. Everyone in the comments needs to understand that at this point in time is either the woke death of the West or aligning with Israel to defeat the woke death cult. Now, I agree with that. I think the West should sort out the Zionist influence problem after defeating the woke cabal. And the Zionist influence problem, I think there is one. And I think that there is something there that needs to be dealt with, with the lobbying in parliament and government and money going over to Israel. Yeah, 100%. But I don't think that's our biggest issue. It's a issue. yet people make it out to be the only issue that's important. And I think that that's crazy. And when you've got this massive problem of Islam rising, it's already got a history, 1,400-year history of taking over all of these Christian nations and killing Christians more than anything else, more than communism, because it's been going for 1,400 years and it's been very effective at it. And then it says, attempting it before we leave the resistance, opposing both major political and cultural influences, and likely lead to the require a violent uprising by the people. It would be strategically unwise and likely result in the defeat of, and any unlikely victory would be painful and costly. Take note from Trump, Elon, Tommy, literally anybody. There are two paths to resistance. It is wise to take the right path, in my opinion. Yeah, this idea that you need to be against the Jewish people and aligning with the hardcore Muslims, and actually the majority of Muslims vote left. They're left-leaning, left voting, which makes no sense because that's completely in conflict with their belief systems. However, we know that the left also are against our society and want to destroy it. Here we go. Tony Robertson is a Zionist puppet. The Zionists have revealed themselves as pure evil. It's so ridiculous. So the people that believe in the Jewish homeland, that they have a right to the Jewish homeland, have revealed themselves as pure evil. So it's not just evil, that's pure evil. Pure evil. Okay, all right. And that would be the majority of people who believe in Israel. There's a lot of people out there who I know that they like Israel and they support Israel, and they must be pure evil. I didn't know that. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth X. Thanks for the facts there. I don't see any actual facts, but yeah, thank you. Robinson has an agenda of hatred and division, and you should not let this BS get traction here. I would say we shouldn't let your BS get any traction here. There was one down here. Oh, there's so many comments. I like this one. Because of all the bitching here, I'm going to reset. Right? I get it. Because look at this one. He went to Israel last week to collect his $7,000 per pro-Israel social media post. But this is the sort of stuff that they write. I've heard people say the same thing about me, and I've never been like, hey, I'm pro-Israel. I've never said any of that stuff. And people still say that about me. So these people are trolling, and these people are the actual problem. They are the actual problem. And they will say that we're dividing everybody, yet they're the ones that are divided. Because I can unite with anyone who has decent values, but I can't unite with anyone who expects me to fall in line and agree with everything they agree with. And that's the issue here. Tommy the Grifter Robertson, he doesn't use his real name. His name is Stephen Yaxley, an absolute tool. Nick Patterson, please don't fall for him. Mate, anyone that's gone to jail over and over again for things that are righteous and is willing to suffer that, I've got to back those guys. You know them by their fruits. Now, what have you done, Patrick? Have you gone to jail for your beliefs, for your political beliefs? Have you gone to jail for exposing pedophiles and naming them and shaming them? Have you done that? He has. Okay, so you can call him a grifter, but I'll tell you what, it's very expensive to fight these battles, and that's why people support him and support his plight. And I think we're almost, and that's Kelly Newton Wordsworth. She's going to be singing at the event. She's amazing. But anyway, let's leave it there for now. And let's, there we go. We're good?
Yep.
Good. So
I was going to show you something, Nick. One sec.
Can we swap the angle over? How do we do that? Oh, just drag it across, don't we? There we go.
Let me see
but
if
the
I
reason
can.
The reason I wanted to show those comments was that was just one post, and the amount of hatred, and it's really Jewish hatred that the Zionists, right? I don't think these people even know what they're parroting, like what it really is. The definition of Zionist, one, is that you believe in the state of Israel. Okay. Now, you don't have to believe in the state of Israel, but just because somebody doesn't mean that they are the pure evil. And that's the narrative that's being established. If you are, which then becomes, if you're Jewish, if you have respect or love for the Jews, anything like that, you are put into that camp. And then it's just that one point of difference that causes these people to want to completely separate with you and not align with you and hate you. And I think, and don't you agree that that's extreme arrogance to think that if you don't agree with me on this issue, you are no good and you're a Zionist shield? Like, I think that's just arrogance, complete arrogance. And I think people that think that way are the problem. And I can't align with people like that. And I have to call it out because it's just, to me, it's shocking. And it's immoral, like it's not decent. It's not a decency to that. Whereas, you and I can disagree on something, and I don't hate your guts. And I'm not going to troll you because of your political beliefs. I might say, I don't agree with that. I think this, but I'm not going to get on there and say you're a grifter, this, or he's a that, and name and call names and start swearing abuse and saying derogatory slurs. Yet these people do, and they seem to feel as though they have the right to do that. And it's a bit like COVID. Remember COVID, where people would just come out of the woodwork and started calling you names? You're a COVID denier. You're an anti-masker. They come out with all these names, and they're people you knew, but all of a sudden it's like they've just been switched on to attack mode. And that's the same with this, but it's far worse. It's far worse, and it's nonsensical.
It's almost like as if fear has this switch where it turns off your rationale, and you go into this like black and white mode, and it's like either the whole truth is here or the whole deception is here, and I'm going to pick a side. You have to sit there, and you gotta be wise about how you look at everything. You have to make. It's just to me, it's just being intellectually lazy. You can't just
Yep.
say the Jews are the problem for everything. That's just intellectually lazy. There are certain things, like Charlie Kirk had issues. He said why. He mentioned certain issues which I agree with. But at the end of the day, do I just throw them all out? That's ridiculous. It's just like with Islam. Do I hate every Muslim? That's ridiculous. It's crazy. I don't like the ideology, but
So
yeah,
I
it
asked
makes sense.
I asked Grok about which people say that the Jews control all the money and they're the money, and that's another narrative. It's not true. If you look at the top banks, the top five. I'm actually I'll share screen so that I can show you this. Window. Here we go. And I'll just add to screen, and I'll go.
And then you got to drag the little one. Yeah, drag it up. Yeah.
That's it. There it is. All right. So here we go. So the question was, where's the question? There's a whole lot. How much of the world's banking is owned by Jewish people? And it explains that it's not true, and it's factually untrue. But here's the top banks, right? Industrial Commercial Bank of China, CBC. They're the top. They're state-owned, Chinese government, right? China Construction Bank, state-owned. Agricultural Bank of China, Bank of China. JP Morgan Chase, right? Which, they probably... I mean, JP Morgan wasn't a Jew. He was an Episcopalian. But anyway, people would say that he's a Jew, but he wasn't. He was not. He was Christian. And I don't think he was a Christian, but his persona was that he was a Christian. It's publicly traded. Obviously, these big companies, which obviously we know that there's There's some Jewish people in the CEO level of this upside down world. There's lots of them there. Mitsubishi Financial Group, HSBC Holdings, BNP, Paribas in France. So there's another French one, Bank of America. So they're the top 10 banks. And there's loads of them. If you kept going, there'd probably be thousands of banks, and there'd be probably hundreds of big banks. So this idea that the Jews control all the money, I just don't see it as being accurate at all. I don't understand why people say it, other than that it's propaganda. I think a lot of Jews in the past did operate in that sphere, because that was one of the only places they could make a living, was doing those jobs. It's a bit like, you got the caste system in India, where certain castes, they can only do certain jobs. There was an element of that. And I think there is some facts behind that. There's probably a lot more variables. But people say it like it's a fact. They just say it and they have no idea. Oh, the Jews control the banks, the Rothschild banks. The Rothschild banks is just, that's one percentage of the banking. It's not the whole of the banking system in the world. But if you focus on it as though it's the only one, that becomes the only one, but it's not the only one.
Can I show you something interesting?
Sure.
If you share the thing that I just sent you, the screen that I just sent you.
Where'd you
Go back on the software. Go back on Chrome. Yep.
Yeah, here, this one.
Yep. That's it. Yep. And go to that one. That one. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just drag it. And drag it across. Okay. Right. Zionism. Literally, can you see here? October the 1st to the 7th. Can you see that?
Yep.
There was all of a sudden a massive spike. Huge spike. From October the 7th, 2023. Bang. All the way to 93. This is worldwide, right? On Google search terms, right? And then you've got, it's significantly increased over time, all the way up to the current day. So before that, there was only a few searches here and there, and then all of a sudden, massive. And then you look at Palestine, massive search as well on the 7th, but nowhere near the amount of traffic as Zionism. So it shows that Zionism is a media influenced, weaponized term that people just get all wrapped up in. It's almost like, that Bible verse, Nick, that says that God sends a deceiving spirit. I think some people just, I don't know, they just get wrapped up into these deceptions. They love it. And God says clearly, He goes, what you sow is what you reap. And, people just get that.
It's the mob, isn't it? It's the mob screaming and shouting, and people just go, "Oh, mob's saying it, so I've got to go along with that too." Now, if you can show facts for things, cool, no worries. I'm happy to look at that. I'm not saying that the everything Israeli is good. Like, I'm sure there's evil. Like, I don't think any of them have clean hands, but a lot of this stuff is just conjecture, and it's just and one of them is that the Jews control the world. I can't see any evidence for that, because there's Jewish in the sea. Because I think of it like this: you've got Satan at the top; he controls this world. He's the god of this world. Below that, you've got like the royal stock who live in castles and have massive estates. And you probably don't know who a lot of those people are, but you probably know some of them. They're the royal. Then below that, you've got the heads of industry, and you've got your Saudi princes and people that control a lot of that. Then below that, you've got the CEOs of the companies who run everything. And you do see a lot of Jewish heads there, but you see a lot that aren't. And then you keep going down. You got your political class, your politicians who we see in media people and sports people below that, and then you got small business people below that, and I think it operates that way. But I don't know. I can't see the whole big picture. And then people say that they were kicked out of 109 countries. No evidence for that. They were kicked out of some, but not 109. They say the Talmud says all these things. I've been looking at the Talmud to see if it does say all those things. And so far, I haven't been able to verify any of the things that are said, but I haven't gone through all of them. I've got a big list of all these things that the Talmud says. And I've looked at about 4 of them, and I can't find it. I can see something said that's actually quite different. And I'm assuming that's what they're connecting those dots.
I chucked it in Grok, Nick, and literally Grok came back and said most of them are just distortions or misquotes, gross misquote, misrepresented. Unless, I don't know, is Grok owned by Jews as well? I don't think Elon Musk is a Jew. But anyway, it's just...
Well, people would say he is, and people would say that, and this is where it gets nuts. People would say that, the Chinese banks and the Chinese communism, all of it's Jews. The Jews are behind all of it. And these people just say this stuff. I go, maybe. But have you got any evidence for it? No, they don't have any evidence for it. No. They just go with it, and then it promotes the Jew hate. And people go, the Jew hate. There is actually legitimate Jew hate. If you've got your eyes open and you're looking, there is actual Jew hate, and it's completely illogical. It's completely illogical. It makes no sense to me. Where you can justify this kind of hatred to a certain people. They go, no, it's not the Jews. It's the Zionists. Well, that's most of the Jews. A lot of the Jews. There's Jews that aren't Zionists, and I know that a lot of them say they need their Messiah to come back before they can establish Zion. Okay, right? But the idea that most Jews aren't Zionists is rubbish, because most of them are. Basically, what we looked at the definitions of Zionism at the beginning. We looked at 4. One from AI, and then 3 other ones. One was a Cambridge one was dictionary.com, and there was another one. And all of them very clearly stated that it's the belief in the establishment of a Jewish homeland. That's it. So if you believe that, somehow that, according to all these trolls, makes you pure evil if you believe that. Now, I would, if I didn't agree with that, let's say I didn't agree with that, I believe I'm a reasonable person. I'm not going to attack you because you believe that. I might say, Ben, I don't agree with Israel being established as a nation. I don't agree, but I'm not going to go, if you agree with that, you are pure evil and you're a Zionist I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to articulate and show the spiritual element to this. This is completely illogical. It makes no sense to have this kind of hatred there because people have a political idea and people just think, well, you must be, you must be getting money from Israel because you think this way, and you don't think the way I think. And let's just do it. Let's just act it out. Okay, let's say so Ben, just I want you just to say, I'm a supporter of Israel. I'm a Zionist, right? So I can attack you. I'm going to attack you if you say that. Just say it.
I would like my own homeland to be able to live. I'm a Zionist. Why not?
You are pure evil. You are the worst. You are worse than everybody else, and you are behind all of the world's problems, Ben. I cannot align with you because you agree with that. Now I'm going to be a reasonable person. Oh, so you believe in the establishment of a Jewish homeland? Oh, okay, I don't, but that's just a difference. We can agree to disagree on that. See, that's how a reasonable person would respond to something they didn't agree with. That's not how these people respond. They do not respond like that. They are just filled with anger and hatred, and it is completely illogical, and it's mental. It's actually mental.
Yeah. I love Svetka A, she's been pretty active in the chat on YouTube, and
Yeah.
she quoted a Bible verse up the top, Matthew 2:22, and it says, "Go up, take the child and his mother, go to the land of Israel, for those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." So he got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he drew to the direction of Galilee, and he went and lived in the town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled what was said through the prophet, said he would be called a Nazarene. Which verse did she say?
I can see Zion is where the Lord dwells. I can't see the chat from here.
To the land of Israel. Oh, okay, one sec. Let me see. New King James.
But I mean, I hope we're articulating the point here that this hatred towards Jews because they're Jews, and then now they're renaming it Zionists, but then they still go back to it being Jews. The Jews are behind everything. When they go on about the Zionist issues that they claim to be the Zionist issues, which is not consistent with what the definition of Zionism is, right? So they must have some other definition, but they will then go into the Jews were kicked out of all these nations. The Jews control the world's banking system. The Jews are behind all of our problems, and that's what. So they connect it to Jewish people. Then they go into then they talk about the Talmud. Now the Talmud really, I looked it up and I did a bit of research today. Only about 10 to 15, 10, no, it was 10 to 14% of the Jewish population worldwide adhere to its core tenets and teachings and understand them, religiously. Whereas if you look at the Quran, you will see that, about 80 to 90% of the Islamic world do adhere religiously to its core tenets and teachings. So the numbers are so insignificant of people who believe in and follow the Talmud, if it's even as bad as people say it is, when I'm finding
No,
that a lot of it isn't. And then if you look at the numbers of people, like it's like 1.5 to 1.7 billion Muslims who adhere to the Quran. And if you look at some of the stuff that Muslims would believe and follow, like there's some horrendous stuff, like the taking of wives, sorry, of sex slaves. That's an actual thing that actually exists in their text. And yet, if I mention that, people are just going to point out the the Zionist thing. Oh, are you a Zionist? What does that got to do with the fact that there's 1.5 to 1.7 billion Muslims who would religiously, because there's so many that don't, but there's like 10%, 10 to 20% of the Muslims that don't religiously adhere to this stuff, that just identifies with Islam, like culturally. I think I've got that. We should actually bring that up. Where is it? It's where
just
is it?
going to mention another Bible verse from Zvedka A. So Psalms 132, 13 to 14, for the Lord has chosen Zion, he has desired it for his dwelling. I'm a Zionist, man. I've got no issue with that. It's just crazy.
Well, I think people's opinion on Zion is that it's a different. The definition is different. So that's all it is.
It's been recognised.
But people then make up all of these extreme, and conspiratorial ideas without any evidence. And I'm happy to entertain any conspiratorial idea, but show me some evidence and some proof of it. Don't just say it's this, that, and the other and connect dots that aren't there. That's what they're doing. They're very vaguely connecting dots that I don't think are even there. And they're creating a whole picture, and then they're creating. And I'm sure these people are in these these communities and these groups where they have a specific algorithm of ideas and thought that they promote, what they call echo chambers, where they
Yeah,
go on
that's it.
about this stuff, and it becomes it becomes like a chant, like a mantra that they follow. And because I don't follow it and believe it, then I must be the worst. I must be part of the problem as well. Here we go, chapter 9. All right, so let's have a look at this.
Are
This
you
is
gonna share the screen? Are you gonna share the
I
screen for
am,
everyone?
I am going to share screen. So this is Sahih Muslims. It's a hadith. It's like one of the most prominent hadiths. I think there's two of
No,
the
not that
main.
one. Not that one.
I'm going to
Not that one.
share it
Yeah, yeah.
now. Window. There we go. Share. And then add to share. Do you want to read through that, mate? Can you read
It
that
is
for me?
permissible to have intercourse with a female captive after it is established that she is not pregnant. And if she has a husband, then their marriage is annulled when she's captured. Imagine that. We say the Jews are the biggest problem. That's
So,
crazy.
so like you've probably got about 1.5 billion Muslims, I would say, that would adhere to this. This is one of the most prominent hadiths, right? And this is, I believe, this is the life of Muhammad, and
Yeah.
they're so this is what 1.5 billion people who would religiously follow Islam believe. Now, let's say there's something that's equally as bad in the Talmud. It's like a minute number of people who would believe it religiously, though. Not 1.5 billion people. Might be
Yeah.
150,000 in the world. 150,000 compared to 1.5 billion is really insignificant. And this is like, nearly a quarter of the world's population. Not a quarter of it, like a sixth of the world's population. As if we even know what the world's population is, because we're relying on data that really probably isn't accurate anyway. That a Muslim, I think it would be close to a. I don't know the exact figures of the Islamic population, but it's significant. It's probably close to a quarter of the world's population, and
Yeah.
this is their stuff that they can take. Like, if we actually read this, where it says, and women already married, they can take, except those whom your right hand possesses. They are lawful for them who are when their Ida period came to an end, and the Ida period is a period of 4 months after a woman's husband has died. But this is when they're still alive. They're still alive, right? So they take the women. And the polytheists are basically all Christians are considered polytheists because they believe in the triune God, Father,
Yep.
Son,
Yep.
Holy Spirit. That makes us. So essentially, what they're saying is that they could take the wife. They could take my wife. Their religion teaches this, and they can then have sex with her after 4 months. I've actually got where is it? The Ida period. Ida, Wikipedia. For a woman whose husband has died, the Ida is 4 lunar months and 10 days. So there it is. Because I look up all this stuff. I look it up. I want to work it out. What is it? What does it teach? What is it? And that's what the Muslims believe. And they can't say it's wrong because that's what Muhammad taught. It's what he lived by. And he's the perfect example.
Muhammad didn't wait to rape Sophia.
No, that's true. He didn't. That's right. He
Yeah.
didn't. So he's a hypocrite. He doesn't even follow
Yeah.
his own rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, long and the short of it, and actually let's stop sharing and let's go back to this one. Yep. So the long and the short is that you've got a religion that has at least 1.5 billion staunch adherent, like religious zealots that believe that that would align their thinking to in the belief that it's okay to take sex slaves from people who are what they consider polytheists, which is actually all Christians who believe in a trinity. You're then a polytheist, and they can take your wife when you're still alive, a captive,
Correct.
and they can make her a sex slave. That is completely mental. That people are not focusing on this issue when you've got packloads of Muslims coming over to this country. Now, I know that most Muslims they're not bad people in that sense that they would do this
Of
to you
course.
off the bat, but the religion and the ideology that they're bringing over with them does provide for this. It promotes
Right
that
now,
ideology.
right now, every Christian, every rationally minded person should be doing everything they can to stand up against Sharia, against you know the uh, the enforcement of what they want to bring now here in Australia, this anti-Islamophobia laws and regulations in the UK as well. Every rational-minded person should be fighting against that, not this whole the Jews thing. It's it's
Yeah,
it's crazy. Base it on facts. Factually, you can see. And maybe we'll put some videos on the channel. Muslims openly admitting, I'm here to take over. They're
yeah,
literally saying it on camera. I'm here to take
yeah,
over. We're going to take over. You know, I mean, who do you worry about more? Uh, 16 million Jews worldwide. 16 million. Now, obviously, they're more secular minded. They're not operating out of the fear of hell or Allah's hell, especially, right? And by the way, without me getting into too much deep theological understanding with the way hell works with Muslims, every Muslim goes to hell. There's only one type of Muslim that doesn't go to hell. It's the one who dies in jihad. He goes straight, he bypasses hell. And when he gets there, he gets to intercede for 70 of his relatives. So that no wonder that the mothers in Palestine are growing up little jihadists. So they're the ones we've got to watch for, And we don't hate Muslims. We love you. We love Muslims, but we think your ideology is really bad, really, really
yeah.
bad.
100%. And this is the point, right? So you've got an ideology that's coming over here that's completely in conflict with our Western and
Yeah,
Christian ideology, well, our Christian values. It's completely at odds with it, and we're bringing these people over and giving them
yeah,
a fair go, and yet they're that's now they're saying to consolidate power politically. They're promoting the idea of jihad. I mean, many people would say, and I've had these discussions where people do say, "Oh, but Nick, jihad is about it's about the inner you. It's about your heart and your will. It's submitting to God. That's the inner jihad." But then you look a little bit further, you realize no, history proves something very different and paints a different picture. And history is, I think, the one thing that gives us the clearest example of what jihad really is, and it is and even their own, like you said, their own imams and their own imams all around the world in the West are saying that jihad is not the inner jihad; it is the outward jihad of war and violence, and that's what these people promote. And once they consolidate the power, all of the Muslims who don't really like that generally concede to that, be out of
yeah.
fear of those people, the jihadis, the ones we call the jihadis. I've got here the stats here. So only about 10%, 1.5 to 1.6 million Jews actually religiously follow the Talmud. So it's about 10% and then there's figures that maybe 14%. but the general consensus is
Yeah.
about 10%. And in contrast to that, it's about 80 to 90% or 1.5, so they had those figures right, to 1.7 billion Muslims follow the Quran religiously. So how do you compare 1.5 million to 1.5 billion and think that the 1.5 billion isn't a bigger issue than the 1.5 million? That's even if the Talmud really is as bad as the Islamic text. You know what I mean? Like,
And
and people say it is, but I'm looking it up and I can't find the evidence for that. I might be wrong. Happy to be proved wrong. But even if that was the case, right, 1.5 million to 1.5 billion people, when you think of manpower, that's 1,000-fold. I think it'd have to be 1,000-fold worse in its ideological context than the other for it to be equally as bad, and it's not, in my opinion, so far.
I heard some estimates, and I agree with Svetka as well. She says, that out of the 1.6 or 2 billion Muslims, probably even a small percentage would classify themselves or believe a strong jihadist belief. She'll say about 20. She's saying about 25%. Look, even if it's just 1% of 2 billion Muslims, we're talking millions and millions and millions of Jews. I think I heard Douglas Murray say once it was something like about 30 or 40 million Jews that adhere to that understanding of how to follow their religion. So this is what we get. We're importing all these people that believe
Jews,
that.
you mean Muslims, not Jews. You said Jews. You mean Muslims.
Sorry, Muslim. So we're bringing in, we're importing so many Muslims that adhere to that ideology, and little wonder that the guy named Jihad does jihad in the UK. That's what's going to happen because that's what they're taught. They don't want to go to hell. They want to intercede on 70 of their family members, and it's a bad ideology. And I thank God for the internet because it's being exposed more and more as
Yeah.
Jesus is coming back soon. In the YouTube chat, he's saying ex-Muslims make the best Christians, and I think as
100%.
we're exposing it more and more and more, hey, Jesus is coming back soon. 777. My wife was a Muslim, and she's like the best Christian, and that's what we want to see. We want to spread that news more and more, far and wide, to get these poor people out of that deception, from the lies of Allah, from the lies of. Actually, Allah is the sock puppet of Muhammad. Muhammad's
Yeah.
sock puppet. Yeah.
So I guess we have been going for about 1.5 hours now. We've been recording for, so we probably should end it. But I just want to end. And you're going to have your own thoughts as well. But this Jew hatred is ridiculous. Zionism, from all of the definitions we looked at, including the Cambridge one, and I've looked at other ones as well, including the Merriam-Webster's. I think we looked at the Britannica as well. It's just clearly and specifically the belief in the political belief in the establishment of a Jewish homeland. That's what it means. So people make it out to be the greatest evil, but really that's all it is. And if someone believes that and you don't believe that, I would think as a rational and reasonable person, you would just say, I don't agree with that. You wouldn't have to throw out hate or not be aligned with somebody in everything because they believe in that one thing. To me, that's completely crazy and it's irrational. And when people call others cookers, I go, you know what? That is cooked to me. That you would hate people just because they align in that political ideology and they think that Jews going back to this land is the greatest evil. And because of that one thing, it doesn't matter what other things you do, I cannot be aligned with you because of that one thing. I think that is absolute madness. And I think if that's what you prescribe to, you are actually the problem, and you are caught in the destructive algorithm, because you should be able to agree to disagree with things. And if that's an impasse for you, then I just think there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be
And
intellectually lazy.
And the other thing I want to say is that every Jewish person I've met and know have been amazing people. Like truly, I have met, and well, actually not everyone, but just about everyone have been reasonable, have been fair. All the ones I know now, like through in this political spectrum, are pro-Australia. They believe in the Australian way of life, Australian values. They believe in Western values. Yet we see all of these Muslim people coming over, who predominantly, for the most part, vote left, and they vote against Christian values, and they're
Yeah.
against the flag, and they're against these things, and they align themselves with extreme leftists. So I am completely against those people, just politically, not even ideologically or religiously, but politically, I'm against these people. So no, I'm very clear and very honest about where I stand on that. If you hate our flag and you hate our culture and you hate our values, I'm against you.
Yep.
I don't see many Jews that are against those things, so I'm not against them. Simple as that.
Yep. Agreed.
All right,
With that,
let's end it there then. Anything else you want to
all
say?
right.
That's it.
Nah, I think the Bible says very clear that He gives us not a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. Sound mind, and a sound mind is a mind that has it's calm, it's reasonable, it's not it's not crying out the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. Or blaming one particular people group all the time. We know who the father of lies is. We know who the deceiver is, and that is our ultimate weapon, our ultimate enemy, and that's who we should be fighting against. And hating the Jews literally falls into the trap that the devil, the beast. If you read in Revelation, he goes around to every nation bringing them to go against Israel. When Jesus comes back in Revelation 19, he's literally there to save the remnant, the chosen people, the remnant that's left in Israel. Like, he literally wages war against Israel. So I think we're just people that are just blaming the Jews is playing into that perfect trap.
100%. And you know what? And I don't even think we have the same idea of all of that, of what that really means. But it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if we don't agree on all of those in everything in exactly the same way. I
Yeah,
can
of course.
still not hate you. I can still go, Ben's my brother, and I love the guy, even though I might have a difference of opinion on some of these things. You don't have to agree on every single variable. But what I can say is that this Jew hatred that is growing is absolutely illogical, and it's mad. And people then start calling it other things, but it all comes back to Jew hatred. And to me, it is completely immoral, and it is completely mad. And it actually provides more proof to me, in observable evidence, that Satan really is ruling this world, and that he is the master of deceivers, and we're seeing it right in front of our eyes playing out. And here we are, and we're dealing with it as best we can to try to break down those narratives. And I want to thank you, my brother, for helping me with all of this and being being a partner in this plight to try to break down the false narratives that are going on. And I think we're
Amen.
doing a good job. I think it's an important part.
Amen. Love you all. God bless you all.
See you guys.
See you later.